to find a bit of the original brick road, which is still there. In fact, there's been several films done about this. I was there on a film crew shooting this brick road, and I said, now guys, years ago I used to see monarch butterflies flying down the old brick road, and I swear the monarch butterflies knew that the road was there, and they were following the road south. Well, lo and behold, as soon as I said this, there was a crowd of monarch butterflies coming down the road, and the cameraman went bananas, running with his big camera down the brick road, chasing butterflies. But, you know, that's the fun of this place. Maybe the butterflies did remember, who knows. But this is the last known remaining piece of the brick road. It runs between Espanola and a place called Hastings to the north. Hastings was a big potato farm place, and it just recently vanished too. They voted to disenfranchise Hastings, so it doesn't exist as a town anymore. But once upon a time, it was a thriving farm town to our north. And the brick road ran right to it. I did something in my new book. I spent a lot of time on a program called Google Space, and I located GPS locations for a lot of our historic spots and put a little block in there, which is like a GS code, because my son, the engineer, told me that driverless cars are coming. They're just around the corner. We can hardly conceive of this in our minds, but artificial intelligence is almost here. They actually have some up and running, and there will be driverless cars, and they will be navigated by these GPS locations. So I said, aha, I'll stick these in my book. Nobody will know what they are today, but maybe someday, 50 years from now, someone will say, well, gee, that's where the Live and Let Live tourist camp was back in 1918. It's at 29.508637, and they'll talk to an artificial intelligence driver, and he'll say, aha, I will take you there. Maybe you talk Japanese, I don't know. But anyhow, artificial intelligence, honest, is right around the corner. It's coming. And driverless cars are coming. My son, the engineer, tells me they're much closer than we realize. I don't want our driver to get nervous. He's not in any danger of losing his position to a driverless bus here in Flagler County. Okay, we're coming up on the road to Espanola. And yes, we are getting closer to the restaurant. I know. We'll get there. Okay, this is Henry Flagler's Florida East Coast Railway. It's a very busy railway, so you always want to stop and see if there's a freight train bearing down on you. This is in heavy use, and it hauls freight from Miami north. Very much in use. Shiny rails. They never get any rust. And coming up is the Florida Park, the county park. And one thing that you need to know, every spring, I'm a little vague on the dates, I think it's February or March, they have the cracker times here. And they have the best rodeo here you will ever see in your life. And for about $10, you get a roast beef sandwich that is cooked from Flagler beef by the Cattlemen's Association, and they use a special wood to cook it, and they'll cook it for about 2 days. And it's one of the most delicious roast beef sandwiches right here at Flagler Fairgrounds. And they have a rodeo here that's incredible called Cracker Days. Over in that blue building are where the master gardeners hang out. And these are volunteer master gardeners. And if you have any growing problem, anything, yard, plants, go in there, and these volunteers are delighted to sit down and talk to you, and they'll tell you everything they know about gardening, and they can answer just about any growing question you could possibly have. They're called master gardeners. So suffice to say, the Espanola area was a very, very active area. From about 1918 on, it had a railroad that ran through it, a narrow gauge railroad. It was really the beginning of the Dixie Highway, in a sense that when you got into Florida, this was civilization. This was where you considered you had made it. You were in Florida. There was great amounts of tourism here. People would come, and as I say, it was a thriving little town. Does Espanola exist anymore? Well, not really, no. Not really. The Dixie Highway remaining here was 10.5 miles of paved highway going north to Espanola. Now there may be other sections. People have sent me pictures of other little bits and pieces of the Dixie Highway. So I won't say this is the only one that exists, but I will say this is the only intact stretch, still drivable, that exists. We had a meeting up here with our history group and the county officials, and we put up a big sign that said, "Don't steal bricks." I think it says people that steal the bricks, well, I didn't say they were going to be shot, but it could be. But it's not a good idea to steal bricks out here. Also, it said travel at your own risk. And boy, do they mean that. But again, you got to use your imagination, guys. This was a thriving farm town. Sort of imagine you saw stores, you saw shopping out here, you saw a hotel, you saw schools, you saw all sorts of things out here. And many of the people that live here are direct descendants of these early settlers. We once took a tour out here with a noted musician, and I said, "Do you know the tune from Deliverance?" And he said, "Yeah, I know the tune from Deliverance, you know, it goes to dee 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 dee." I said, "Why don't you play it here? It's very appropriate."
Yeah, you come over, you come this way, and you come this way.
This is very appropriate to play the banjo from Deliverance. You are in real, undiluted Florida. This is undiluted Florida. Real Florida. Not make-believe. This is not Disney World. This is 100% Florida. Well, this is the remnants of Espanola. I'm sorry I don't have stores to show you. They were here. I don't have schools to show you. The barber shop is long gone. And you say, well, there's no bricks. Well, the bricks are still here. They're underneath this macadam topping. But believe me, we will find some bricks. Honest, we will. Much of this land is owned by lumber companies. Ryerson Lumber, they do active farming of these slash pine trees, which were never native to Florida. They're a useless tree for lumber, but they grind them up for the pulp, and they make paper, wallboard, all sorts of products. These fields were not empty. These were not empty fields. There were houses, stores, buildings there. The railroad was on your right, and there was a railroad called, what do they call it? I forget the name of it. But anyway, there was a narrow gauge railroad right here on your right. That's a pretty impressive tower. Wow. Gosh. How'd you like to have that over your house? Looks kind of fragile, doesn't it?
Good cell reception. Better than I could say I get.
Gosh. Okay, right here is Live and Let Live. To your right, this is the site of Live and Let Live. That's where it was. And now I bring to your attention bricks. Any second now, they're going to appear the last piece of the old brick road. Ta-da! There it is. We're on it. Notice that there's a little concrete ridge on the left and right. These bricks are sitting in sand, and they're resting in sand between that little concrete piece on the left and on the right. The bricks say on their face, the Graves Brick Company, Georgia, and this is the road that ran to Chicago. And it's still in use. There are lumber companies, trucks coming down this road at about 60 miles an hour loaded with logs. Really, I've seen them. And so this road is still in use, 100 years or more, many hundreds of years. And there it is, the brick road. You can drive that if you're incredibly brave and somewhat stupid. Travel at your own risk. You may never be heard from again.
To see it better here.
I mean, if the trucks come down.
You're in the middle of nowhere. There's, if anything happens, you are on your own.
So what if you're just a little bit brave and totally stupid?
You are on your own.
That's it.
But you should have seen the monarch butterflies flying down this road. The cameraman went berserk. Been here a long time. Old stuff is interesting.
The tower's right there. Go around the corner. The house phone because I didn't get it.
I like the open spaces.